What's up guys, this is Valentina with Bigger Creations, and today I'm going to show you exactly how I process my backup vocals. So I've been getting a lot of questions on how I process my backup vocals. Today is the day. I'm gonna break down the whole vocal chain for my backup vocals and show you exactly how I make them sit in the mix without interfering with your main vocals and just still having them have their own space and sound crispy and big. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you wanna see more videos like this, make sure you're subscribed and you have notifications on so that you never miss a beat. And as always, if you ever have any questions or wanna see more content, check me out on Instagram. So the example that I'm using today is one of my very own songs that I've been working on. I'm gonna play it for you guys just so you kind of get an idea of what it sounds like, and then I'll show you exactly how I made these backup vocals.
Don't tell me lies, I know you love me, you do. You can try play hard to get. Even your mama knows, you know that mama knows best. If she does. I would do dishes and laundry for days just for your kisses. Wake up to your face. Ay, 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 ay. I believe in love. Yeah, yeah.
So you just heard it. The backup vocals sound great. They're not overpowering the main vocal, but they're definitely making a statement of their own. And I just love how they sound. So I'm going to show you guys what I did to make them sound this way, and hopefully that helps you guys. So the first thing I did is I added a gain channel just to gain stage my vocals before I added all of the plugins, just so that the signal wouldn't be clipping when I add all the plugins. So in this case, I put it down by -23 dB. That will vary based off of how hot you recorded and what you've got going on. The first plugin that I added here is a plugin from Waves, and it's called the CLA 76 Compressor. I'll put a link in the description to all the plugins that I use. I highly recommend this one. This is like a very unique compressor in my opinion compared to other compressors that I've worked with. It's very simple, and it just gives a different type of result from other compressors. So I like to use this first on my backup vocals. I've put my attack pretty quick and my release as far as it goes. And then input and output, those are self-explanatory. So these are the settings that I did. So most of what I'm doing here is just adding some volume. If you notice, before I add the compressor, with my gain staging, it's very, very low. But once I add the compressor, it sounds pretty good. So those are my settings for the compressor. Then I go ahead and add a Deesser. This one is also from Waves. And I've set it up to the 5500 range, and then set up my threshold to -45. And this is what it sounds like with that. Dishes, laundry, so not super aggressive, but it's just taking away some of those S sounds. Dishes, laundry, then I went ahead and added a channel EQ. I did some subtractive EQ on here, took away some of the frequencies that I didn't want, and then really bumped the highs. Because that's the part that I really want to emphasize in the backup vocals. My main vocal I know is going to be in the 2K range and some of the high end, so I don't want it to mess with the punchiness of the 2K range of the main vocal. So I just boost the highs and then get rid of any frequencies that I don't like. So this is what it sounds like once I've added the EQ. Without. Dishes, laundry, it's very subtle, but it makes a huge difference once you're doing your entire mix. So the next plugin I added here was an EQ and compressor. I didn't really use any of the compression side of this, just the EQ, and most of what I did here was actually just subtracting more frequencies. So you'll notice here I subtracted around the 300 hertz range by, let's see, about -9 dB. And then around here, I took out about 3.6. Here, I took out about -6, and then I actually boosted more like higher frequencies by about 3 dB. So basically I took out some key ranges here and then only boosted my high end. So you can do this with a regular EQ. I just like how it just easily divides it by knobs. So this is what it sounds like.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And without it.
Dishes, laundry, days.
So you'll notice that without it, it actually sounds a little bit louder. And that's because I've taken out a lot of frequencies here. But I'm not worried about it because I've taken out the frequencies I don't like, and then I can add some of that volume again with some compression. So then I add another CL76, and this just helps with the additional volume that we're missing here. So before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And after.
Dishes, laundry, days.
So you can tell it's already coming together here. The next thing I like to do is to add a multipressor, and there's a lot of things happening here. Basically, you'll probably just want to hit pause and take a look out every single setting here, but I've messed with some of the spacing of the frequencies and then compressed those quite a bit. So essentially I'm doing like a bit of a wave where it's low here and then comes up on the high end. So really wanted to compress the low end and get that kind of out of the way and in control. And then because we are adding a lot of higher frequencies, we definitely want to compress those and make sure that those are in check. So this is what it sounds like before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And then after.
Dishes, laundry, days.
So quite a difference there. Feels a lot more consistent and tight and contained. Okay, so the next plugin that I add here is also from Waves. It's called Real ADT, and you're gonna notice that this is where the backup vocal starts to sound a little bit more wide, almost like a chorus pedal or something like that. But these are my settings, and this is what it sounds like before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And after.
Dishes, laundry, days.
So you can already tell it feels like it's already sitting in more of that stereo space, so that your main vocal is still going to punch through. So that's a big one that I love using for my backup vocals. Almost the last thing I do here, I add another compressor. This one's a R compressor from Waves, and these are my settings. So I'm going to show you before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And after.
Dishes, laundry, days.
This is because of all of the work we've done on the previous plugins. This compressor is not working super hard to get this to sound really good. So I love adding this one. I've got a pretty quick attack and a kind of mid-range release. And then I've set my ratio to about 2 and then added a little bit of gain. So that's where you're seeing, it's just beautifully compressing the vocal. So again, before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And after.
Dishes, laundry, days.
The last thing I add on my main vocal chain is a stereo imager, and I don't really mess with the settings. I just leave it on default. This is what it sounds like before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And after.
Dishes, laundry, days.
So you're probably not going to tell much of a difference if you're listening to this on your phone, but if you're listening on headphones and on studio monitors, you're going to be able to notice this stereo-ness of it, especially in headphones. So that just adds a little bit more width to the vocals. That's basically the main vocal chain. Then I do a couple of bust effects. So I added a bust here with a tape delay, and these are my settings. And this is just the stock delay inside of Logic.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And I have it at a 1/16 note so that it's pretty quick. It gives it the width that I'm looking for, but it doesn't get really messy and get lost within all the other vocals while it's still like playing the echo. So I really like how that adds to it. And then the last bus that I add here actually has a couple of different things. It has a short reverb, a long reverb, and a doubler. So these are my settings for the main plate reverb. So I'm going to turn the other ones off so you can kind of hear what's happening here.
Dishes, laundry, days.
Before.
Dishes, laundry, days.
You'll notice it sounds really like robotic and like there's not a space to it. So it feels like the voice is just not alive. It's not in a real place. Once you add a little bit of reverb, it really makes a huge difference to help it feel a little bit more human. your ears automatically start identifying like, oh, this voice is actually real. It's in a space, and this is what the space sounds like. So here it is with it.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And I did a whole video on how to calculate the perfect reverb for your vocals. I'm gonna put a link to it in the description. But if you haven't watched that video, basically there's some math involved with making sure you've got the right reverb time that goes with your BPM. And then of course, my most important tip out of this is making sure that you EQ your reverb so that you're not adding reverb to all of the frequencies, just a certain area of your vocals. So that's my first reverb. The second reverb I add is a little bit longer, so you'll notice some of the reverb time here, and it's a little bit more wet. So this is what it sounds like without it.
Dishes, laundry, days.
And with it.
Dishes, laundry, days.
It gives you a little bit of a bigger space to deal with, and I just love how it sounds. It makes it sound a little bit bigger and better. And then the last thing that I add here is a doubler, and these are my settings. Pretty standard, nothing super crazy, but just to add a little bit more width.
Dishes, laundry, days.
So basically that's it. That's the whole vocal processing for my backup vocals, and I've added that to each of these backup tracks. So as I add these together,
Dishes, laundry, days.
and you'll notice when I play it with the main vocal really just still comes through crisp and clear.
Dishes and laundry, days. Just
Let's play it with everything.
I would do dishes and laundry for days just for your kisses. Wake up to your face. Ay, 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 ay. I'm in love.
So there you have it, guys. That is exactly how I set up my backup vocals. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you're subscribed and you've got notifications on so that you never miss a beat. If you ever have any questions or want to see more content, check me out on Instagram. Keep making beats.